Welcome to NARAL's The Morning After. Each Thursday, our podcast brings you the latest on reproductive health care, progressive politics, and the fight to keep abortion safe and legal. NARAL's The Morning After is a production of NARAL Pro-Choice Ohio. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at ProChoiceOH. Enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Jaime.
Hi, I'm Gabe. So welcome back, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Executive Director of Women Have Options Ohio. You were with us last night also.
Yes.
For a really amazing event. The second of 4 scheduled. 5? Yeah, this is the second of
5.
many. Roe Together Activist Bootcamps. This was the Columbus one. We're out on the east side. I'm not sure what the head count was, somewhere in the 250 people ballpark. I thought that was amazing. How do you think it went?
Man, I know he's like kind of were together last night, but I didn't see you, so I'm glad we're getting to spend some time together now. It was packed, and it was wonderful. The main thing that I was really excited about is that, you know, just like you guys have been doing this work for a while, and we saw a lot of new faces, mostly new faces. And that gave me all the like yay tinglies, like, oh yay.
Yeah, it really was. And you know, it's the second of 5, and so we sold out and packed house in Cincinnati last week. The Cleveland one's tonight, and it's been sold out for like 2 weeks now at 350. And so it really has been an amazing turnout everywhere we've gone. And it's a long event too. It's a 3-hour,
it's a commitment.
6 to 9 commitment of, you know, it really was. I mean, we use the word boot camp, and it really, if you've ever done an exercise boot camp, it was kind of the brain activist boot camp. And people like stayed the whole time and were engaged the whole time. And, you know, we did 5 separate time frames in Cincinnati, and the people in my 5th session were just as engaged and asking questions as the people in the first one. And I think it was the same way last night as well.
Yeah. And just to give people a sense of the size, so once all 5 of these trainings are done, we're going to be well over 1,000 people across the state who will have come through the doors to get information on this. When we do a lobby day, we do it every April. Our average crowd there is 150. It's 25.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is an enormous volume of people who are coming, getting information, sitting, learning, taking notes, learning about past legislation, new legislation, ways of contacting legislators, writing letters to the editor, fundraising, storytelling, all sorts of things. We had seven organizations, us, Women Have Options, Planned Parenthood was there last night. I shouldn't have started listing them because now I got to name them all. Urge for a Future,
RCRC,
Ohio RCRC,
and AAW,
and AAUW. So they put together 7 different trainings. People got to go to 3 of the 7. We didn't even have time for everybody to do everything. So, you know, if you went to one of these and want more information, if you weren't able to get to one, give us a call, you know, throw a house party, half a dozen friends, open a bottle of wine. We will be there. And we'll bring some notes and some information. You know, if you're going to happy hour at your bar and you can pull together a table, we'll come and sit and talk to your friends about this information.
There's a lot of people getting together, especially post the Women's March. And like, you know, there's the organized like huddles, or people are putting together postcard parties, all these kind of things. And these are like the perfect opportunities to also do some education as well as the advocacy, because we don't all know all this information. And as experts, we want to be available to people. So,
well, that really is the biggest part of so much of this, is that we had 200 people in that room last night, but they've all got at least 10 friends who weren't able to be there last night. So
we had a waiting list last night.
We did have a waiting list last night. They've got a huge waiting list actually in Cleveland. But like, so when all of the people always say, like, what can I do right now to make a difference? And really the best thing to do is to get together with those 10 friends who couldn't come and share the information. We can come, Stephanie can come, call Planned Parenthood, like call all these organizations. And ask for, somebody to come out, because Randy's always up for that. I'm up for it. And Stephanie's up for it.
Yeah.
So, just let us know.
One of the biggest takeaways that I had from last night is how much people want to talk about this and want to learn about how to talk about abortion rights. They want to talk about reproductive rights. I did the fundraising, and my first group, I had a hard time kind of wrangling everybody in, because everybody wanted to talk about, like, okay, so I'm asking somebody for contribution to a pro-choice organization. How do I talk about abortion? And so we, kind of got into that, and people were just hungry for that information, hungry for just a time and space to talk about it in an affirmative way and figure out how they can talk to all those people that are their friends or their family who are kind of on the fence about it and have heard so many lies, alternative facts about abortion and reproductive health care. So I think that that's one of my takeaways as far as and how we can offer our expertise. I'm really excited about that. And I'm super excited that people want to know more about how to talk about it.
I think one of the first questions we got in the kind of the reverse town hall that we started out with at the beginning in Cincinnati was, so what are you gonna do after this? Like, what else can I do? I'm like, can we get through tonight first? But people are really excited to actually do stuff, and there's so that can a ton, because we're in minorities in so many places, but what we can do is resist and fight every single thing, because you will eventually be able to find that spot.
Yeah. Like in general, we have so much to do as a movement to get a positive message out there, rather than just the kind of offensive stuff that we are so oftentimes stuck in. So it's not on how to talk positively and how to like share our story, the importance of sharing our stories. And because that's really like the one thing I can do. And I'm like, let's talk positively about abortion. Let's talk about it as a public good. Let's stop buying into their language on it. So I'm as rough as the political climate is right now, we've got to work as grassroots ground game as possible.
Yeah. I mean, everybody always says, like, why are you introducing, Hyde repeal bills, and why are you because if we don't start now talking about it,
right?
Because even a lot of our supporters are like, oh yeah, tax dollars can't go for abortion, because we've kind of done this whole, well, tax dollars can't go for abortion now kind of stuff, so that we've kind of beat it into even our supporters that
are only 3% of Planned Parenthood's what Planned Parenthood does is abortion. I'm like, that's an important 3%. Let's talk about it more.
Yeah,
right.
So it really is about changing the message.
Yeah. In our session that Randy and I led, we were specifically talking about past and upcoming legislation, getting people ready to write letters to the editor, to contact their legislators. And what we told them last night was 2 years ago, we saw an agenda package of legislation from Ohio Right to Life released in February at the beginning of that 2-year legislative session. The beginning of a new 2-year legislative session is February, and so check your watch. It must be time. And sure enough, this morning,
Shocker.
Ohio Right to Life has unveiled their new legislative package.
Yes.
So here is yet another half dozen bills, largely unconstitutional ideas to further restrict access to safe and legal abortion in the state of Ohio.
Yeah. And it really does show this incremental approach that the leader of Ohio Right to Life has been saying that they want to work on forever and ever and ever. It's, we couple of years ago passed a liability last 20-week ban. And we're running a D&E ban, which is basically a 13-week abortion ban. And so you're just piece by piece by piece going backwards. Or 1 year they introduced the program that created the funding stream for crisis pregnancy centers. The next year they created a specific line item guaranteeing a certain amount of money. And this year they want to more money into that line item for crisis pregnancy centers. So we really are seeing just this continued push for more.
Right. And the two things that you talked about there, because both are very important. And I think it's easy to lose track about what these are. The first one, you called it a D&E ban. The term the Ohio right to life.
Yeah, it's a D&E ban.
Okay. 13-week.
Yeah, it's a 13-week D&E ban.
Okay. 13 weeks. So the heartbeat bill is a 6-week ban. 6-week ban, a 13-week ban. We've already seen the 20-week ban, and the post viability is 24 weeks. You know, it's like they're picking all of these different points in a pregnancy wherein they want to interject their their point at which they're stopping women from being able to access abortion care. 6 weeks, 13 weeks, 20 weeks, 24 weeks. You know,
it's
none of
like
these
they're chipping away at access.
None of these are necessary. They're just looking for the right combination.
Yeah, they're completely arbitrary.
The big point that Kelly, our executive director, has been making is that all of these, if it's an unconstitutional ban, they don't care that it's unconstitutional now. They want to the new Trump Supreme Court.
Chills.
I mean, you got to start saying these things out loud to acknowledge it's what it is. The Trump Supreme Court as test cases to overturn Roe versus Wade.
Yep.
That's what this 13-week ban is. It's what the heartbeat bill blatantly was labeled as.
Oh, very much.
The 20-week ban is unconstitutional, and so that's just them pushing the boundaries of what gets constitutional or not. But this is Ohio Right to Life's test case to overturn Roe.
Yeah. The 6-week ban goes too far, so they've got to pick some arbitrary number in between. So this is, target one specific procedure that happens at 13 weeks and beyond, and say we're going to do that procedure. So it really is just another. I mean, the whole agenda that they laid out has absolutely no bearing on health, or well-being of women and families, or any of those kinds of things. I mean, there was an article in a newspaper here in Ohio today about Kasuke's budget and how, with the outrageous heroin epidemic, opiate epidemic we have here in the state of Ohio, Children Protective Services across the state are taking in record number of children from these cases. Funding cuts, not increases, and Ohio is one of the worst states for actually funding these programs in the first place, and now they're seeing these influx of clients and no increase in funding. But here we are, we're going to increase funding for crisis pregnancy centers to lie to women about complications from abortion care. It really does show that Ohio Right to Life is not a pro-life organization. It is an anti-abortion organization, and that's exactly what this slate of 6 bills shows.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, they definitely have the votes, and the other piece of the agenda too is, I mean, they're bringing the fetal tissue stuff back. They're bringing back a ridiculous restriction on medication abortion and those kinds of things. But the overarching message on all of these is abortion is shameful. Abortion should have stigma attached to it. Kind of the opposite of what we were just talking about. Abortion in a positive light, because it is a positive thing in many women's lives. They're really pushing on this shame stigma point, and really making sure, that really understand what you're doing, and we're going to make you cremate or bury the fetal tissue because we want you to really understand the depth of what you are doing today, because
and
women
make the procedure more expensive and do a whole bunch of things that and make it harder for clinics to stay open. And I mean, they're coming at it all directions at this point.
So we'll see what happens with their agenda this time. They got
their women shaming agenda.
Yes, their women shaming agenda.
So speaking of Trump,
Make you talk about it more.
Right. Well, sorry.
One of his fun nicknames. I like those better, but
number 45.
Yeah, there we go.
Gorsuch. I don't know how you say it. He's nominated the judge to serve on the High Court. Our statement. Kelly Copeland put out a release after this nomination. That's not the right one. Bear with me here. Reading today's release.
That's a good one too, but we kind of already talked about that.
Yeah. What Kelly said about Neal Gorsuch, she said the Supreme Court is the court of last resort. Justices have a solemn responsibility to ensure equal protection under the law for all Americans, including women, workers, the LGBTQ community, immigrants, and people of color. It's the place that Americans turn time and again when government oversteps and interferes in people's personal and private decisions. The Senate failed to even hold a hearing when the first nomination for this seat, and Americans haven't seen much from the White House to be confident about this week. And that was a week ago. It hasn't gotten better.
Well, it's still getting worse.
Continued. President Trump has vowed to stack the court with justices that will overturn Roe versus Wade and outlaw abortion. We need to make sure this nominee isn't going to try to legislate from the bench and reject the nomination if he is.
Yes.
I mean, all in all, this is a stolen seat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He had 45 had no right to name this Supreme Court judge. And, I'm in the camp of like resist. I mean, and what I've heard about this guy is that he's right of Scalia even.
Yes.
And I'm just like, how is that possible? But also, yeah.
Well, the first thing I saw about him that was his history was somebody pulled up his old high school yearbook and he founded a club in high school called Fascists Forever.
So, have you re-looked that up? I don't know if I think that may be an alternative facts. Is that really real? I think on Snopes. Look on Snopes.
Okay. Well,
I don't know if that's actually accurate. Not that I don't think that would be possible given
the pictures of the yearbook look convincing.
Well,
but Photoshop.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we do know, that is solid
awful.
fact,
yes,
is he has made decisions as a judge about contraceptive coverage. Ruled in favor of employers in getting to block women's access, their employees' access to contraceptive coverage through their health insurance.
Hobby Lobby.
Yes.
Yep.
Right.
So, I mean, he definitely was, rulings on giving police more leverage for higher level escalations. And I mean, Trump through the entire election said he would only, most of the time presidential candidates like to pussyfoot around it a little bit and be like, oh, I don't have a litmus test, but they're going to follow my values and will, nominate the best person for the job. No, Trump was, I am going to, only nominate pro-gun, anti-Roe versus Wade judges to the Supreme Court. And
yet he talks about like how political the judicial system is, and
so I think that it'll be a very interesting, I mean, it at least looks like the Democrats are willing to block it, but also willing to at least explain himself, which the Republicans didn't even give Obama's nomination, because I think they probably would have been little bit more likely to support him if they were actually thinking about him as a judge and those kind of things, which they weren't. Block.
I mean, Merrick Garland was very kind of middle of the road, I mean, I was kind of like, oh, I'm not super excited about this one, but he was a compromise. And trying to work with Republicans and knowing that, and then they completely just everything. Yeah.
All right, so while you two are talking, I just Googled Snopes and fascism forever, and you're right.
As much as I want to, yes, I'm sorry to have to correct you.
Okay.
I'm not sorry.
Thanks. The other thing that happened with this nominee just yesterday, which I believe happened while we were in our training, Trump, number 45, was making comments about the judiciary.
Mm-hmm.
Really comments. There isn't anybody that he's been willing to.
Well, again, it shows the comments he's making shows that he knows less about how the judicial system works than our regular listeners do, because our regular listeners know that the Capitol Care in Toledo has been in court for 5 years now, waiting for a final ruling on their case, and preterm's case has been going on for over 6. The judiciary is not speedy in any way, shape, or form, and this case on the travel ban, the immigration ban, is all of what, 2 weeks old, a week and a half old. Week and a half.
It feels like forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's only like a week.
And he's complaining about how it's taking so long, and it's taking too long. This case is taking too long. It's a week old, dude. You have no idea how the court system works.
Just kind of added on, he doesn't know how checks and balances work, doesn't know how the court system works, that it is a check and balance. What?
Yeah, they're not fast, and they're supposed to be independent.
Yes.
And he does not understand either of those. So 45 made comments about judges.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Neal Korsak, when meeting with members of the Senate, made comments to them saying that he was disappointed in Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Following all of that, the NARAL National Office issued a statement, which I thought was pretty good. All Americans should be disheartened and demoralized. That was the words that Neal Korsak used to describe Trump. Demoralized. All Americans should be disheartened and demoralized by Donald Trump's behavior and his comments on an hourly basis. But those feelings about our erratic, unhinged president don't alone qualify you to receive a lifetime appointment to the Supreme Court. We need someone who will defend all of our constitutional freedoms, not someone like Neal Korsak, whose anti-choice record undermines women's autonomy and poses a direct threat to the future of Roe v. Wade. Americans shouldn't confuse a very normal reaction to an abnormal president with qualifications to sit on our nation's highest court.
It kind of it worries me that he's trying to kind of distance himself from the president. As I shudder.
It's really weird.
Well, it is really weird. Not only is it really weird, but it's also it just shows that, first, we know that Trump had no part in determining who was going to be this nominee.
It was the Heritage Foundation.
It was the Heritage Foundation. It was, super evangelical groups
who selected him but didn't vet him.
Radical groups, radical religious groups, Christian religious groups selected him in particular. And also the Heritage Foundation, which is radical in a whole bunch of all the different ways.
All the ways.
But yeah, he wants to distance himself, and also that Trump didn't pick him, and we should be worried about the influence and how much our 45 doesn't care, but also how much other groups and outside groups have control over incredibly important aspects.
Enemies, foreign and domestic.
Well, then that's the really funny part, because he talked about how he wasn't going to be beholden by anybody because he didn't take money and he's draining the swamp and no control over anything. I mean, he filled the swamp. Not beholden to
anybody, but he doesn't have to listen to any reasonable voice anywhere.
He did not drain he actually drained the regular alligators in and put radioactive poisonous alligators in the water in the swamp.
He has changed the swamp.
Yes.
Yeah. Made it much more dangerous, especially for regular people, especially for kind of the population that voted him in. These are the people that are going to be most affected by the overturning of ACA, which is Obamacare. They're, these are, black lung benefits. These people are going to, there's no way that we're going to get an increased minimum wage, federally with this administration. These are people that are struggling every day, and the struggle is going to get worse, right?
Yeah.
But he's not going to listen to the people. He just fakes that the people are, not there, or somehow we're, paid protesters or something like that.
We paid the 1 million women who came to DC for the
That'd be really expensive.
I know. Like, who had the budget for that? Can we get their phone number?
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing about paid protesters, I was like, if there seriously were paid protesters, Donald Trump would be claiming that as job creation numbers.
Yeah. Probably.
Right.
Look at me.
It's like, how do people think that there were paid protesters without any form of recruitment, advertising, hiring?
They just magically appear.
So we'll see. We'll see how and how the Trump versus judges battle continues to wage.
It'll be interesting to see if Donald Trump responds to his own judicial nominee saying that he's not so fabulous. Will he be able to control himself from responding to that?
Well, I think that would be. I mean, that's rough for him, because he would have to admit that he's made like a decision, which I don't think he does.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But he also doesn't let shit go either, so it'll be really interesting.
Right.
I mean, he went after the Democratic senator who said that Gorsuch had said that. Of course, then like Sean Spicer had to come out as fact, like he did actually say that, and like several Republicans have now said yes, he said that to me as well. So even Donald Trump's most recent tweets are completely bland again.
Yeah. Or against Nordstrom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so our last segment, normally Randy sings Let's Get It On. You're more than welcome to.
Let's get it on.
There you go.
There you go.
Very nice. So women have options. We've talked about the organization when you were here last time. If you could please give us an update on how things are going and what's in the pipeline.
Man, it's been a while since I've been here. So we've been busy, but really great kind of busy. There are so many people that are kind of coming into the fold, and for a very tiny organization like Women Have Options, it's wild to see that. Anyway, but we have lots of stuff coming up. We are having left and right people offering to do fundraisers for us. We've got a fundraiser, a burlesque fundraiser coming up, which is really fun. And 3rd and 24th at the Franklinton Playhouse. It's Bustin' Stigma.
That's awesome.
So that should be a lot of fun. We were the last recipients of the wonderful group that's doing the Comedy for Choice, and you guys are doing it this time, and that's such an incredible group of people. So, and we have, I think, on Valentine's Day, there's like a punk show.
Yeah, I just saw that one on Facebook yesterday. I was like, oh, another one. Okay.
People that are doing just kind of independent projects and independent fundraisers, which we so appreciate. And we do also have some fundraisers coming up as well. We have our annual Swap for Our Sisters, which is a really fun clothing swap event. It was actually started in my living room 5 years ago. That was a mess.
It's now vastly outgrown that space.
It's very much grown. It's actually almost outgrown the space that we're currently in. So we'll have to find a bigger space next year. But you come in, you drop off your clothing or your feminist swag, your shoes, whatever, and you get your golden ticket. You buy your $10 ticket, golden ticket, and you literally get to take as much home as you want the next day at the Swap for Our Sisters boutique. And we work really hard to make sure that any leftovers goes to organizations that need it. So we donate kind of the leftovers to, like, the modest leftovers to refugee groups. We donate, there's a purse project that gets all the kind of the bags that help sex workers get access to any help that they need. We donate to free stores and LGBT organizations, mostly youth organizations for LGBT. So it's a really great, fun event, especially in very serious and very important actions. This is a nice community building event. And then another community building event we've got coming up, the Bowl-a-thon.
All right.
Hey, this is our 8th annual Bowl-a-thon.
I can't believe it's been going on for that long.
I know.
It feels like yesterday,
Yeah.
like 8 years. Yikes.
And I've got a great picture of Gabe as you were
Liberty.
Statue of Liberty with a bowling ball. I love it. The build a team. Is NARAL going to have a team this year?
I think we should.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. You build a team, come up with a fun name, and every bowler, and you don't have to be a good bowler, ideally not. No. Every bowler then raises money for Women Have Options, and we have a big bowling party to cap it off. So the kickoff event is March 2nd at Penn's.
Just little mini bowling before.
Little mini bowling, yeah.
Bowling.
They were kind enough to donate a couple of lanes for
wow,
us.
nice.
Cool.
So yeah. And then
When is that?
that's March 2nd. We've got our bowl-a-thon on April, April 29th. So you have, a good 2 months to, or just about 2 months to fundraise, build your team, figure out what your costume is going to be.
That's where I fail. I'm not a costume.
That's all right. I think I'm going to bowling shirt this time. Like that's going to add to every year.
Ooh, NARAL bowling shirts. I'm sure Allison Rose could totally make that happen.
I bet. So it's always fun. We're hoping this year to raise $30,000.
That's awesome.
Which is wonderful. Last year we raised 27, so I feel like it's doable.
That's totally doable.
I think we can blow it out of the water, actually.
And just
So
to
this
remind
year-
people, that's $27,000 for
Women Have Options for direct abortion funding, and also like reducing barriers. Like we have been doing overnight accommodations in Cincinnati with Planned Parenthood there.
So if you are a low-income woman seeking an abortion,
Mhm.
and we've got our 24-hour waiting period,
Yep.
so you got to come back for a second day.
Mhm.
Some of these funds help pay for the hotel room, so that if women have can't do 2 days worth of driving.
Exactly. Actually, then this is very specific to the 2-day procedures overnight, because and they were finding there was a woman who traveled from Nashville and drew back to Nashville
Oh, geez.
between the
Wow,
day 1 and day
yikes.
2 of her procedure, which is dangerous, like
Right.
crossing that many state lines and not having like your the
Doctor close.
doctor there.
Mhm.
And or people were staying overnight in the parking lot because
Yeah.
they couldn't drive
Wow.
back. So
Mhm.
it's and we're seeing a lot more patients from Kentucky and West Virginia.
Yeah, because they
Those-
both just lost
they
one of their
both
last
just
two.
lost, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one clinic left in each of those
Right.
2 states. So
Yeah,
Ohio
we've
is
talked about
getting-
that. This myth of just going to the next state over. They're losing as many as we are. So
Yeah, and especially with and stuff like
Mhm.
that, it's
right,
not possible for a lot of people. So you have
right.
transportation, you have
Mhm.
childcare, you have to take those days off, you have to there's so many barriers, and we try to and we're growing, so we're trying to reduce more barriers,
Right.
starting some new programs and
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, the idea that something has become, for many people, essentially a 2-day road trip with a hotel stay for something that should just be an afternoon in their own community. Completely asinine. There's no benefit.
it's
Mm-mm.
one of the most common medical procedures. Like, I mean,
Right.
it's
It-
one in
yeah.
3 women,
Mhm.
right? It's something that we keep on harping on, and people have to make it a road trip, right?
Mhm.
It's
Right.
it's not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Kelly talks about this all the time, how Ohio is a medical destination state. We've got
Mhm.
the Ohio State University Medical Center. We've got the Cleveland Clinic.
Yeah.
People come here for health care.
Right.
And now we're sending our women out into other states because we can't take care of them here because of the laws and the barriers. So
And yet people are still coming here
Yes.
because we're the medical refuge,
Yeah.
right? And it's just like,
Right.
no, oh my gosh.
yeah, I mean, some of our clinics are 2-3 weeks out.
Mhm.
3 code events there: the Swap for Our Sisters, the Bowl-a-thon kickoff, and then the actual Bowl-a-thon. We'll put information for all of those in the show notes.
Awesome.
Roe Together tonight is the Cleveland one. That one's sold out.
Yes. If you do not have a ticket, they will not be able to accommodate you at the door.
Yeah,
so
they're actually packed. But if you live on the complete other side of the state, Cincinnati is over. Dayton is still upcoming.
Yes, Dayton is on the 18th.
Yep, February 18th. Information in the show notes, or you can find that one on our Facebook page. And here in Columbus, Fifth of Cups that night is the Comedy for Choice. Proceeds benefit NARAL Pro-Choice Ohio.
Yes.
So if you want to come out and see some comedy, I have no idea who the comedians are.
So I do know
Nice.
the comedians. So if you've never been to a Stand Up for Choice event, it is incredible. We've got the great comedy of like Pat Deering and Amber Falter. Both of them are incredible. They're the ones who are kind of the main planners of it. And then they've got kind of a cast of really wonderful comedians. I love this space because, number one, we need to laugh more, right?
Yes.
As a movement,
Right.
we need to gather more in positive ways, but also I don't know if it's a common experience for you guys, but I have walked out of so many comedy shows just because they're just offensive.
Yeah.
They're fat shaming or rape jokes or
Right.
Yeah.
and and this is a super safe feminist comedy show. And it's just like, finally, I know I can go see comedy once a quarter and not worry about having to walk out.
Yeah.
So it's super smart comedy. Gosh, last time it was packed.
Yeah.
And I assume that it's going to be packed or even more packed this time because people are yearning to laugh and needing to gather. So it's going to be fun.
Yes. We did the Serious Roe Together event this week. Let's have some fun next week.
Exactly.
Come out for Comedy for Choice.
Look for information in the show notes. Where can they find more info for Women Have Options?
You can find it all on womenhaveoptions.org.
Cool.
Really complicated.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming.
Glad to be here.
And we'll see everybody next week.
Bye.